Peter Hayward is a master certified coach with the International Coaching Federation, possessing over 3,006 hours of coaching experience. He is currently the Global Facilitation Leader at Intel and has held various roles at Intel since 2001, including Signature Professional Development. Peter is an ICF assessor, a PCC, an Intel facilitator for coaching for excellence. He holds certifications in Hogan Personality Assessment, Berkman Facilitation, and is a trained organizations and systems coach. He will speak to us on using coaching competencies. Let us welcome Peter Hayward.
Hello, and it's my honor and pleasure to be with you today to talk on this topic. So we're going to look at navigating through organizational complexity. And this is a big topic at the moment because a lot of large corporations, as we moved into the pandemic, the way people and companies worked fundamentally changed. People went from face-to-face environments into a virtual environment. And that was a big sort of transition to be made. It impacted the way people worked together, how people interacted, the way teams worked, and as a result of that, the level of complexity increased dramatically. And just when we thought we'd mastered some of these challenges, the world went back from virtual to face-to-face. So a lot of large companies had to move their workforce back into the office. And this remains a big challenge, getting people working together and doing that, getting them back into the office. So that's a bit of the background to this topic. I'm going to share my background in a moment. I'm going to give, I've worked within large corporations for over 30 years. So I'm going to give you a bit of a inside-in perspective. So I'm not sure what you do, but if you are coaching or working inside a large corporation, I'll try and share some of my thoughts and perspectives on that. But if you're outside a large corporation but interested with working with people within a large corporation, I'll try and give you also an outside-in perspective as well. So let me see if I can share my files. Just give me a moment, please. And I've prepared some materials for today, and I'm also going to share them with you after the session. The session really is designed for, can everyone see the materials I'm sharing?
Yes.
Perfect.
Thumbs up. Good.
So I'm going to also share these materials with everyone at the end, and there'll be 15 minutes of chat available at the end of the session. So maybe just again, shortly on my background, I've spent 35 years working in large corporations, and the last 27 years of which I've been working for Intel. And just to give you an idea of how complex Intel is as a company, in 27 years, I've had 24 different managers. And you can see from this some of the different roles I've had, but I've had a lot of different managers. And that's one of the things, like Intel is a very fast-moving company, so there's lots of change. Yeah, so you need to be nimble and keep on your feet there because change is all over the place. Currently, I'm working, my role is we have within the company, we have, we use our own managers, leaders for delivering our coaching and training programs. And my role is to sort of identify these facilitators for the various development programs and make sure that they get trained and they're enabled and they're ready to deliver these things to their own organizations. So I do that as part of a very small team. We have nearly 1,000 facilitators at Intel across the world who are doing that. So we try and do that internally. And the same applies for our coaching program. We have a coaching program. We leverage very heavily on internal coaches. We also use external coaches. But for the internal coaches, we spend a lot of time training them. And part of my role is to make sure that coaches are trained and they have the right skills so they can deliver the coaching. And we have a common standard within the company. So I've been doing that for a number of years. Just Intel won an ICF Prism Award in 2022. So we were recognized for some of the efforts there as well. And I'm happy to share any insights or thoughts if anyone wants to sort of go in that direction. Happy to help on that one as well. Other than that, I've sort of figured that I would not be working within a large, complex organization for the rest of my life. So I did want to make, at some stage, I want to make myself independent as well. So I also founded my own company about 15 years ago. You can see it here. It's boardcoach.com. So if you want to connect with me, this is my own company here. And then what I'm really focusing on here is mentor coaching and also coach trainings as well. So that's a bit of my background. And then my family, you see me, I'm a Brit, I'm born in Britain. I've lived in Germany most of my life. My wife, Anna, she's Polish. We've been married for nearly over 20 years. And then I got two children, Adam and Leo, they're two boys. They're very mischievous. So we have a very complex system in our family as well. So I always also get lots of chance to practice working in complex environments every day at home as well. And other than that, you can see some of my hobbies here. I love mountains. I'm an outdoor person. I spend lots of time outside. So that's a bit about me, who you're talking to. And then when I started designing this session, the thinking here is to provide you with a super skill, and maybe a super skill, a superpower, so a behavioral power or a toolkit that would help you navigate yourself through similar situations. So that's really the background to this. You can see from my background that there is lots of tools here. I'm a big fan of toolkits and processes. So I believe that there's some structure you can bring into complexity that makes it a lot easier to get things done as well. So I'm going to focus this on coaching super skills. And I've identified 3 of these, and they're very closely aligned to ICF's core coaching competences. You may not recognize them very directly here yet, but I believe that these coaching super competences or ICF competences are the foundational for any great relationship building, whether it's building a relationship with your coaching client or building relationship with stakeholders within a corporation. I think these coaching skills apply universally. And I'm going to explore about one of these 3, which I believe are most relevant for this. So we're going to look at 3. The first one is building the proper relationship with your prospective clients and stakeholders within a company. The second one really is how you build trust very quickly with clients or sponsors you don't know or they don't know you. How can you go about doing that in a professional environment? And then the third one is really how do you make sure that after you've actually established a relationship with someone and you've had meetings, that you can formulate precise and actionable outcomes from any of the meetings you have with them so you get the results you want. So that's what we're going to look at here. And the first super skill here is curiosity. And this curiosity is all about being interested or being open-minded for another perspective. So you may, this is a mindset capability. So it's the ability whenever you engage with someone to actually remain open-minded to discovering something new from that person. So one of my founding principles is whenever I go into a meeting with a stakeholder, I'm always open-minded. I never lead with my own agenda. I'm listening. We'll cover listening in a moment. And I'm always curious to discover something new that I may not know myself. And this is a really key thing in a really difficult, complex environment, or there's lots of change going on in the company. There's lots of opportunity to discover new things. And there's also lots of opportunity to do things differently. So this curiosity mindset or gene is a really critical thing, particularly when you go into the unknown or you're going into situations where no one knows where things are going to go as well. So one of the things I do, at least to prepare myself for this, is I take time at the beginning of every day. I meditate and I remind myself every morning there's going to be something new I can actually discover or learn that I don't know. By doing that, that really helps sort of frame myself and put myself in the right frame of mind for the day. And that makes going into meetings, whether it's coaching sessions or meetings with clients or sponsors, it makes it a lot easier because I'm more open-minded to hearing what they have to share with me as well. And that brings me to the first point here is if you're going or you're working with people within a large corporation, there's a lot of people. So the first thing is really to figure out, am I really talking to the right person? Because you can spend a lot of time talking to the wrong people. Very rarely do people tell you, at least when you have them on a video conference on the phone, whether they're not the right person. So it's really important to figure out who are the right people I need to be talking to before I actually go into meetings. So this is like when you're in a maze, you need some sort of a plan. And the right person normally is a decision maker in some form or a sponsor. And you need to find those people very quickly. And this is a very nice sort of tool you can use to help identify the right people. So what I normally do here is I map out the names of the different people I have working around me. And then I try and put them on a post-it, and you can see, you try and map them out into whether they have a lot of influence and what you're trying to influence, whether they have no influence. And you also do a mental mapping, at least, of how favorable or their attitude towards what you're going to talk to them on. So you will always find people who are positive. You'll find people who have a negative point of view. And you'll also find people that are neutral as well. So it's very important to figure this out up front. And it makes sense spending a bit of time on this. So this is a very beautiful exercise to do to really figure out, am I talking to the right person? And if you're not talking to the right person, this is also a really important point. What I try and do is, if I find that that person isn't the right person, I can still ask them whether they know or they can refer me to the right person. So using you really appealing to their own network and finding out if they're not the right person, who the right person would be. Could be someone on their team, could be someone else in the organization, but use the time when you have time with them together to really find out who the right person is. This is really about knowing who your customer is. And this stakeholder analysis I'm sharing with you now is also a nice coaching tool as well. So if you have a client who's also struggling with figuring that out, this is a beautiful sort of exercise you can do together with your clients. Okay, so knowing who to talk to, and I'm structuring this into sort of almost 3 phases. There's a before the meeting, there's a during the meeting, and there's a after the meeting. Once you know who you need to talk to and you've found a way of getting that meeting set up with them, you actually go into that meeting. So just having someone's time is almost a big win. Most people are busy as well. So it's very important to be able to connect to them in the right way very quickly when you go into the first meeting. And this is what I call building a leadership alliance. So it's all about contracting with them and making sure you get to know them, and it's really clear what their topic is, or if you're trying to help them on something, what your topic is, but getting a clear agreement about what you want to get out of the interaction together. So one of the things I do here, always do here when I'm working with leaders in my company, is I always let the leader lead first. So I ask the leader to check in, and that means I don't check in with them. I spend some time finding out how they're doing, what's top of mind for them. And when you ask a question like what's top of mind, or what's keeping them awake at night, or what's their top priority or their biggest challenge at the moment, there's many ways you can do this. You will inevitably find some interesting hooks, which you can potentially use also to connect what your topic is to them as well. So this is all, so this is about checking in. The other thing I mentioned is being able to utilize their network if they're not the right person and it's complex. Find out who the best person to be talking to and see if you can get their name as well. What is also important here is also after the first meeting, documenting and following up on any actions you agreed. And also having permission from them to actually go and follow up with them if you have any updates, or if there's new information coming into the system, the opportunity to do that with them. Okay, my second super skill here is listening. So this you also may be familiar with. This is a core coaching competency. For me, listening or active listening is all about listening to understand. I worked with a great leader in sales and marketing at my company, and they once told me you need to have the ears of an elephant and the voice of a mouse. And I love that principle, and I use that principle also when I'm going into meetings. Going back to the curiosity thing, I'm always listening. I'm letting the other person lead. I'm trying to discover new information that will help me help them forward as well. So listening is not about listening to respond, but it's about listening to understand. And listening not only to what's being said, but what's not being said. And listening also and trying to hear not just what the person is telling me about the subject or the topic, but also trying to connect with them as a person. Yeah, what is behind, or what are their needs? What are their fears? What do I truly need to be doing to be able to help them forward as well? So this is all done through listening. And the best way of preparing yourself for this, so I prepare myself for listening as well, is again, I go back to, I need to be in tune with myself before I can be in tune with someone else. So I actually spend time in my morning meditations, really sort of creating that frame of mind. So I'm ready to listen. My mind is open. I'm in the right mindset for discovering new information. And that really helps me prepare to do this when I go into my meetings with my clients as well. Okay, we talked about trust. Now, this is a really important one, particularly if you are in a very difficult, fast-changing, complex environment, which is moving very quickly, where your sponsor or your clients, they don't know what's going on themselves because it's moving so quickly. What can typically happen here is there's lots of new people. There's lots of new people coming into the equation. And this is why it's really important building trust up really quickly. So this applies, you'll be familiar with this if you're a coach. You need to do this very quickly with your clients, but you need to do this very quickly if you're working with leaders or stakeholders in the organization, I need to build that trust up with them really, really fast. And the ways I do that, at least I try and share something personal, first about myself. You may recall right at the beginning, I shared something about my family. That normally demonstrates that I'm trusting another person. And that typically sets the scenes also for someone else trusting or sharing something back as well. So this would be one way you do need to take a lead with trust, like so sharing something, being a bit open. But the other thing I find, which is very important, which is often very difficult when you don't know someone so well in a corporation, you need to be authentic. So you can't just pretend you're something you'd like to be. It has to be true to what you are. So whatever you share, make sure it's something that you're comfortable with. And this also often involves taking some risks. That's what I've got here. You need to be bold. To be authentic, you often need to be bold. You may need to take some risks. But I found that often the risks you take here pay off as well. This is really important. The other thing with trust, particularly when I'm working with leaders, is making sure that if I do make commitments, that I make commitments I can keep. So don't overcommit. It's always better to undercommit and overdeliver than the other way around. So I'm very clear on what I can do or what I can't do. And then the other thing is, if I can't do something, I'm very clear of someone else who may be able to help do it. Yes, I also have that in my frame of mind as well. I'm not trying to do everything myself, but I'm also offering my network if needed to support whatever the purpose is. So these are a couple of fast things for building trust. Other than that, I going into meetings thinking you should know everything better is setting yourself up for failure. So I'm normally, if I need help or I don't know it as well, I'm pretty open. I will ask the person, or I will point it out. If needed, I will ask them, for either more information or a name, or maybe to explain it in a different way that would make sense for me to understand as well. So always doing that and assuming positive intent, even though it may not always be evident in a meeting, but always assuming that the person who is sharing something with you, they have a positive intent for what they're doing. They mean it well, and they mean it well also for you as well. We got the presence. Presence is also called coaching competency. To be present, though, when you're working with a sponsor in a large corporation, means you also need to check very carefully with the person when to meet them. So first, you need to get permission. So always get permission for a meeting. So make sure you have permission to meet them. Placement, make sure that if you do get the opportunity for a meeting, it's in the right environment that works for them as well. Is it face-to-face? Is it virtual? What is the right time? What is the right day? But, finding out from the other person when is the best time for them for such a meeting, which I'm proposing to them. That can be very helpful. The worst thing you can do is get to someone who has a very busy day. They've had a stressful day. It's not the right time. They've got lots of other priorities. So it's really important to find the right time for the particular topic I have as well. Recognizing these people are very busy and they have full agendas. So placement, permission. The third one here, which comes to mind within a large corporation, is space. So allowing the other person space to unfold themselves, their topics, but really, just allowing them the time, not being pushy, not pushing my own agenda, just allowing them the time they need to unfold. If they need time to think, I'm not going to put them under pressure to come up with artificial deadlines, really spending a bit of time there as well. And then the third one, the fourth one, which links back to what the first one I talked about, is just what helps me be present is if I'm curious, I want to discover something new, that will allow me to be more present with the person. Yeah, because it also allows me to listen more attentively. But presence is really an important skill, in particular when you're talking to senior leaders as well. So you've had a good meeting. The third part and the last part, which I wanted to share, is after the meeting. So you've had a good meeting. You've come up with some agreements on what you're going to do with your stakeholder or your client. But then it's really important to make sure you have crisp, clear, actionable agreements from the meetings you come out of. And this is why I love this model as SMART goals. So making sure that your any agreements are SMART, so they're specific, they're measurable, they're achievable, they're realistic, and they're timely. And the way you can go about that really is making sure that you summarize very, very precisely and concisely what you agreed and what you didn't agree to do. And it's a lot easier doing that today than it was 5 years ago with AI tools. So really using correcting if a meeting's being recording, using the transcripts, and really trying to get your AI to help you crystallize or summarize meetings so it's really specific and tangible, with specific sort of owners and clearly identified actions as well. So use the AI tools to support you, and also make sure if you do make agreements with leaders or stakeholders that you basically follow up on anything you committed to do. And you also schedule follow-up meetings, really important. Rarely do you get something done immediately, but you have enough time to really, or you schedule some follow-up meetings, but then you also yourself make sure you've scheduled some milestones yourself so you can actually achieve all of the things you committed to do in the meeting or you said you would do in the meeting. Make sure you just don't leave that up to chance, and there's enough time for that. Okay, focus. This in particular, if you've got a complex environment, there's lots of things going on. It's very difficult to know what to focus on. This is Stephen Covey, is my absolute favorite. If you're not familiar with the 7 habits of highly effective people, but he's a big fan of really looking about what are the things I have control of, what do I focus on, versus what are the things I have less control of, which I let go of as well. So if you develop this skill, you'll find very quickly it becomes a lot easier to prioritize things. And when you have lots of complexity going, priority is really key. So being able to prioritize things is really important. And if you can prioritize, wait, and drop things, then it becomes a lot easier to let go of other things. So all of the clutter and the complexity of things that may not be so relevant to you automatically will fall off the radar screen if you're good at focusing. And so focus is really a key super skill here. And if you're good at this, it will also mean you're much better at sort of conserving your own energy as well, because you're spending the time on the essential things, not the things which are not important or not important to you as well. So this was one of the foundational principles of my own company, Foundations. I'm ready to figure out what are the things I really want to spend my time and energy on as well. Okay, so I'm coming, I think, to the end of the 30 minutes, and I'm looking forward to some Q&A and some interaction. Right now, it feels to me like I'm doing lots of talking, and I'm really looking forward to doing some listening and having some interaction. 3 short things to remember here, sort of a summary of what I've been talking about. When you're curious and you have a growth mindset, it makes sailing easier, in particular in rust-troubled waters. So really focusing on that can really help you navigate through difficult waters a lot easier and faster. The second thing is really focus on your clients and your sponsors and treat them as customers, treat them as your customer. And that really means you're going to be listening to what they're doing and trying to find out, putting your own agenda into the background and putting their agenda at the forefront as well, and trying to find those connections. And then the last thing here really is what I talked about is focus. Make sure you stay yourself, you can focus your energy, you stay authentic. And if you do that, you'll find you'll build longer lasting business relationships, which will help you.
Wow. Thank you, Peter. Such an awesome session.
So that was a lot of things. And maybe I've got one final thought for everyone. I hope you've enjoyed this session so far. But what is one thing you are committed to doing differently as a result of today's session? So maybe
Thank you, Peter. Can you hear me?
Think about that whilst I fix my audio.
All right.
Go back to the Q&A.
Yeah. Peter, can you hear me? Peter, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
One moment.
Okay. All right. Can every other person hear? Is the audio fine? Could you just let me know with a thumbs up? Okay. Yes. Okay. I think Peter. All right. Wonderful. Wonderful. Peter, can you hear us now?
I can. My speaker turned
Yay.
itself off halfway through that. So I'm so glad to have you back.
All right. Thank you. All right. So that was such a great session. You need to see how the chat box was going pop, 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 right? So we can tell that there are a lot of coaches and a lot of very curious people, putting their learnings in their goodie bags and also in the questions. So we have quite a lot of questions for you here. Thank you for your tips. Very insightful. So let me go straight to, well, there is one that I'd like to start off with. Everybody is curious about the bald coach.
Okay. So let me tell you about that. So remember I said you need to be authentic, yeah, and you need to it's important to focus. I don't want to do everything. I don't want to be everyone's darling. I can't do everything for everyone. So I need to work with people who also give me the energy. So I'm a bit selective, right? And this can get in my way as well, right? Because it means I may need to turn things down, but I still think it's better to turn things down for me, but also for a client or a prospective client if it doesn't work from a chemistry perspective. Yeah. So one of my defining values is actually humor. I'm a strong believer in humor. I'm English. So I like having fun. I like working with people who have fun. I find people get things done faster when they have fun. So one of my sort of values is humor. So the bold, as you can see, I won't pretend. I've been like this, by the way, for, 30 years. It started around 20. But I wanted to be a bold, but I'm also bold. So I'm the bold coach. It's a bit of a pun between bold and bold. Yeah. So Some people like that. It gives me some great clients. Others like, what? I don't understand that. That's the background to that one.
Very, very interesting. Leading with your authenticity and connecting with clients that way as well. I so resonate with that. All right. So we have a question from Diana. Peter, can you confirm that you can hear me?
I can hear you. I can hear you, Diana. Okay. Hello.
Oh no. I'm asking the question on behalf of Diana.
Okay.
And the question. Okay. So the question is, what questions do you ask yourself to determine where the people fall on the stakeholder analysis matrix?
So what questions do I ask myself? So what I normally do, I come up with a list of all possible people, right? I just write it down on a flip chart, all the different people. Then I think about it. So then I take these Post-it cards in the different colors and the different shapes. I'll share this with you as well. I think about the person, and then I try and based on my knowledge, yeah, it's more knowledge as well. I think about it. Yeah, so it's sort of a reflection type thing. And as I'm thinking about them, I'm actually selecting, is it a very influential or less? I'm sort of going through some sort of mind trail to do that. Yeah, so I'm doing that with the cards. It's an interactive. I don't have a script or any particular questions other than the ones I said. Is this a very, how influential? If it's someone who is, for example, if it's someone who has a negative, they're negatively biased. Yeah, what is making them negatively biased? So why do I believe that? What is it? Is it from someone else? But just using some questions to go a bit deeper to sort of confirm where I put them on that card as well.
Wow. Very intentional process. Very,
Yeah.
very helpful.
That exercise can be so, it really is the best to do with someone though. So if you have the luxury of a partner to do that with, there's two of you or more of you, it can be really powerful when you do it in a room as a team, because you'll get different insights, and then you have a really beautiful map. We normally do that on a carpet somewhere in a conference room and with tape, and it's just mapping that out gives you a lot of information and a lot of knowledge, which I find helps you forward.
Wow, such a golden nugget. Thank you for that. So we have another question. We have several questions, and I hope we can take them all in the time we have. From Adebisi, and she says, how did you gain alignment with Intel to build your personal company and brand while still working with them?
Yeah, so there's actually, in a large corporation, there's actually a process for that. So, so it's basically following a process to make sure there's no conflict of interest in what you're doing, it doesn't interfere. Yeah, so I need to go through that process. And I think other companies have a similar process. So it's really important to find out if there is a process and then follow that process. Yeah, and then the process basically, you commit that you're not using your working time for doing your own thing. You're not sort of you're going to competition, but there's a whole range of things that you need to do to make sure it's not sort of going to be in conflict for your day job as well. So I go through that. Intel has a really nice process for that. And it's a process you also renew. You have to renew every year or every time you have a new manager. So there's a very beautiful process for that. And if I will give you also, if you're part of a company which doesn't have a process like that, then go through that process yourself, but I'll get the permission, find out, is there a process? If there isn't, come up with, like something which you can share with them, and then get your organization or your manager to sign that off. That's essentially how I started at Intel before there was a process.
Wow, great. Thank you, Peter. A lot of us will be connecting with you for sure. I have a question from Juliana, and she says, have you ever had to step in when a client seems not to be making progress?
Have I ever had to step in? So this is where you have to step back. This is where you need to most, at least you probably, if you're feeling that, then you probably, it's a moment where you need to step back the most. So I've often been tempted, for sure. The more knowledge you gain, the more coaching you do, the more tempting it is to figure, I see, I recognize that, I know what it is. They don't recognize it. I need to do something, so they recognize it. So this gets very, the more experience you have, it actually becomes more and more challenging to do that. But I still bite my lip. And it goes back to that curious. So I ask this curiosity one. I always ask myself, what is this one small thing I don't know, that client doesn't know, that I could discover from them that I don't already know? So there's always one small thing. And if I can frame that will make, I'm curious, and then it will stop me going in there.
Wow. Wonderful. So you play the curiosity card.
I have to play the curiosity game with myself.
Very helpful, Peter. Very helpful. And so we have a question from Katya. how do you assure to serve your clients in Intel while you work for the same company that can be the cause of their stress?
Oh, well, that's a great question. That's a great question. Yeah, so how do I, and it's also about how do I detach myself? And so how do I be agnostic as a coach, as an internal coach? Yeah, how do I stay disconnected from what's going on in the company? I find that actually if you're doing really good coaching, according to ICF's coaching competencies, and you're talking to the person and you're engaging with the person. I'm engaging with the person. I'm engaging with a person who has a business challenge in the company. And that is a person like me. And like, so I don't, on that plane, it's less, distracting or interfering. So that's what I try to do. But then I guess it would also be I'm trying to think what the thing that helps here is when you contract, making sure it's very clear, it's confidential, that I'm talking to them as a coach, not as like I don't know, a business partner or whatever. I'm actually independent. I have a contract from my company to do that, but whatever they share with me stays with me unless there's an agreement otherwise. So that normally helps as well.
All right. So being tight with the contract, being
Yeah.
tight with the contract team. All right. And so we only have 2 more minutes left, and let's see if we can answer the next question in 2 minutes. Peter, I noticed that you come more from meta skills. How do you feel with clients who mostly value do?
Yeah. So do is, as you saw, I'm a big fan of do. It needs to be actionable. It needs to be real. And then particularly in a large company, there's money. There has to be some sort of impact, an output, some way of measuring it. There has to be that as well, right? So I do connect with the person. But of course, there's a business topic normally as well. There's something they want to change. There's some way they are going to measure it themselves. And that often, when it comes to the end of a conversation, that will be specific things they're going to do. They're going to talk to a person. They're going to try something. There will be something tangible as well. So a lot of these meetings, they will start with a particular issue. But I also found that the faster you can get to the person, that you move a bit away from transactional topics as well.
Right. Well, thank you so much, Peter. And I apologize to the other questions that we could not get to. But right now, we need to meet some of our sponsors who have made this possible. I can't say thank you enough, Peter. It was great to listen to you and to learn from you.
Thank you so much, everyone.
All right, great. So let's hear from our sponsors.